Hey friends, welcome to another edition of the Tennis and Bagels podcast. This is your host, Mancho Romani, and joining me today, we have a special guest. He's making his debut on the Tennis and Bagels podcast. You know him on Twitter as Mario Boccardi. He's an upcoming Italian journalist. He writes for two publications called Sports Face and another one, which I don't really know how to pronounce, but he'll do it for me. And he's a great follow on Twitter and very much in the tennis community and a member of Talking Tennis as well. So, hey, Mario, good to have you here making your debut on this podcast.
Hi everyone. I'm grateful to be here because I really like to talk tennis, and also I've known Vansh from quite a lot on Twitter, and it's always been very nice to be in contact with him, and so I'm really happy to be here. Yeah.
Great. Yeah, we're excited to have you as well. And obviously, since you followed Madrid very closely, we can start with the WTA first. We saw another final between Iga Swiatek and Aryna Sabalenka. Swiatek obviously coming into this tournament, having won Stuttgart and having played the world number one and number two, just met in Stuttgart before this, and it's becoming a pretty exciting rivalry now on the WTA. And this time, it seemed like Sabalenka really flipped the switch. Obviously, conditions that certainly favor her with the high altitude and having won Madrid before in 2021, and just how much of an improved player she's been in the last 5 or 6 months, right from the offseason fixing her serve to especially just being the best player in 2023 and having beaten Iga twice as well. And but this was a really competitive and very, very fun match to watch. Very absorbing, and both players played extremely high quality tennis, and it certainly makes the rivalry going forward pretty exciting. How did you kind of see the final unfold?
Yeah, it's really been an exciting final because of the players involved and because of the quality, and also because it's really been a very tense match with all these changes in the score and some games for Swiatek, and then a big moment for Sabalenka, and then the quality went higher and higher also in the deciding set, and also we had a pretty dramatic last game. It's really been an amazing final, but also I have to say that it's been an amazing WTA season so far, because we are really watching a lot of great matches, great finals, and the top players are really giving it a lot so far this year. But credit to Sabalenka, because I think that she has demonstrated in all this season that she has made a lot of improvements, and we have talked a lot about her mental improvements, but I'm also watching a lot of improvements from the athletical point of view. She's really ready to run and to stay with her feet really on the ground to hit really well the ball. And even when she's forced to be in a defensive position, she's really clear and precise in her hitting. But of course, also the way she's able to stay in the match against this Swiatek, which wasn't the case last year, because they met I think twice also during the last year's clay season, and I know that probably Swiatek was even at a higher level probably that this year, but I mean, it's not that easy to be there and to compete against a player which has dominated the game in the last year, and she's a really strong player, and Sabalenka did really good effort to stay there in the match and to also use the conditions, creating herself an edge in this match, and I mean, it's a very deserved final, which probably means that Sabalenka at some point this year and soon, probably she's going to finally reach this number one spot, because given how much Swiatek has to defend, and the fact that Sabalenka has a lot to gain even in Paris, but also I'm thinking about Wimbledon. Last year there were no points at stake, so every player can earn a lot of points. She has in the race also, she's in a very good position, because she has over 1,500 points on the second player, which is Rybakina. So yeah, I mean, I'm really happy to see Sabalenka really playing at a good level. And after last year, you probably kind of could have had some doubts about her process, but yeah, it was a moment, and this year she's really rocking it. And yeah, I think it's not now difficult to predict that. I don't know for how much, but at least statistically, I think that she's going to be for sure number one also at some point in this season.
Yeah, I think that's actually a pretty fair assumption, given how far ahead she is right now in the points. And even if Iga does win Rome and Roland-Garros, there's plenty of points for Sabalenka to gain in the second half of the season, as well as doing well at Roland-Garros herself, which is going to be interesting to watch, because you would certainly think in non-altitude, sea level, slow clay court conditions, Swiatek would certainly probably have the upper hand. But this definitely makes it very interesting, given the matchup, and given what we saw yesterday was a fun match to watch, also because they kept winning games, sort of 3-3 games at a time, and that was really cool to see. Like from 3-3 in the first set, 6-3, 0-3, 3-3, 3-6, and then it was kind of back and forth all the way through, and you really didn't know who was gonna come out on top. But it really just stood out. Just the belief that Sabalenka had the last game of the match entirely reminded me of the Australian Open final against Rybakina, where she got it done on her fourth championship point. It was the same situation here, when she really could have potentially felt the pressure a little bit. Maybe you could have seen it sort of revert back to the mean, but Sabalenka's just different this year. She has a lot more margin. Her forehand, to me, is looking devastating in the corners, as well as when she has a ball in the middle of the court. And she was really able to rush Swiatek at times, and Swiatek did a good job herself problem solving and coming out of a tough situation. She could have lost the match in the second set as well, and she just hung in there. And I thought it was a very, very little actually separating both of those players at the end, and maybe Sabalenka just with the extra pop on her serve, and just being able to just utilize the conditions a little bit more in her favor certainly made the difference. But for Swiatek, it's positive that she was so close to winning Madrid, and she's won Rome twice and Madrid, Roland-Garros twice, and it will be interesting to see, because the pressure is certainly on. But she's in a good position compared to where she was at before the clay court season.
No, yeah, of course, even because we have to think that she began the clay season also with some kind of doubt because of her injury, which made she skip the Miami event. And so I think that she proved that she's of course okay, and she won the tournament in Stuttgart, defending the title. And then she went to the final in Madrid. That we can also read this as a step forward, because she was never there in her career in that event. So I think that we can take some positives, of course, from these two first clay court events. And now, of course, we are approaching two events that Swiatek really likes, because she won the last two in the last 2 years in Rome. She won the Roland-Garros twice also, and no doubt that she's going to be the favorite in those events. And of course, I think that Sabalenka is a very all-around player because of the kind of tennis she plays. Because when you have that power, and you also, like she's this year, she's super okay physically also. So I think that she can really play well in any kind of court. But I think that Swiatek can take the positives, even because at the beginning of the year we saw her struggling in some kind of matches, and sometimes losing them against these top players, not really fighting. While this wasn't the case yesterday, because she really stayed there till the end, forcing a very close third set. But also in the last game, she had her chances. Sabalenka got involved in a very, very long service game. She really, she probably made some little mistakes in some point at the third set in the last part, but overall I think that I'm not really worried about the fact that she lost a final in 3 sets against Sabalenka, which is playing some unbelievable tennis this year. So of course we are expecting a lot from Iga, because of the last season she had, and also because of the clay courts, which saw her dominating since the very young age. But I think that we can consider, of course, a good tournament for her, and a good first 3 weeks of the clay season. And now, of course, I'm looking forward to watch what she's going to do in Rome, because she's the 2-time defending champion, and I'm sure she would love to win the 3rd year in a row, and she's going to be the favorite, number 1 favorite, of course.
Yeah, absolutely. In terms of the women's tournament as a whole, obviously you mentioned quite a bit about Swiatek and Sabalenka. What were some of the other stories that really captivated your attention? Obviously, the 2-week Masters event, you have to look more for the first week, where what stood out to me is obviously Erika Andreeva, such a great talent, and just 16 years of age, turned 16 in the tournament itself, had those fantastic wins over Leila Fernandez, and then Beatrice Haddad-Maia, and then then one more win, right? Or is it escaping?
Yeah, it was
right now.
I'm checking.
Yeah, it was someone pretty.
Lynette,
yes, Australian Open semifinals. That's right. Yeah. Some of these matches were way too early for my time zone, so I wasn't able to catch the Lynette one, but I did see a lot of the Fernandez and some of the Beatrice on mine, and I was pretty impressed by her, by how solid her game is. Pretty solid overall for 16. I was pretty impressed with her backhand. Her forehand is pretty loopy, and it's a good clay court forehand, I think, and she seems to have some good qualities, and believes in herself, and she was a quite fun interview to listen to afterwards as well. So some cool personality, and pretty crazy. She was in the Junior Australian Open final this year, and since then she went on this insane winning streak at the W60 level, and then winning those 2 ITFs, and then carrying that form here, and then actually pushed Sabalenka for a good half a set. And then, so I think we'll be seeing a lot more of her in the future, but just adds to the depth with the depth of young female players under the age of 21.
Yeah, no, of course, it's been a very nice story. I knew her name. So when I saw her in the draw, I was like interested in watching how she would have performed, and she hasn't disappointed at all. And of course, I knew her name, and I knew she was a really good young player. But yeah, me too. I wasn't expecting already so good. It's really been fun to watch her matches. Also because she has this this kind of tennis that it's also funny to watch because there's a lot of mix. He has she has the power weapons, but she also has a lot of variety. And yeah, it's been really funny to watch her against this very good player because yeah, beating back to back in straight sets, Fernandez, Sadat, Maya, Linette, it's really not for everyone, and especially at this such young age. And yeah, of course, playing with no pressure can help you, but I mean, you are facing players which are, I would say, established. Yeah, let's say top players, and performing in this way, it's really not for everyone. And yeah, I'm looking forward to see if some other event can give her some wild card here and there, because we know she had the wild card also because of the EMG sponsorship of the event. But who knows? Given how well she used this opportunity, probably she can have some invitation here and there in the season and make some experience which can make the difference at this level, because having such experiences at young age can really help you when you get to 18 or 19 and you start to be ready to compete weekly on the main tour, and having already played some kind of matches, we know that can really help you. And that's also why, of course, we have some players. I don't want to say that they had it easier, because then you have to use the opportunity, but of course, having had these experiences help you to understand how you have to behave in these events. And also, she's also really been funny in the interviews also when she was talking about Andy Murray.
He's just a beautiful person or something like that.
Yeah, that's right. And it's not easy at 16 to go there and to talk in this way with on TV in a big interview, because all the big players go there to talk about their matches. And so I saw her also psychologically quite ready to stay in this life. I mean, of course, it can also be easy sometimes when you're so young, because you are not thinking a lot. But I'm really big on her, and I want to see more of her soon.
Yeah, she's definitely one exciting teenager to follow in the coming years. But looking at the rest of the WTA, are there any other stories to you that really stand out in terms of, you were excited or happy for certain players to do well or go deep? Obviously, Maya Sharif was another big one, beating some very good players and getting to the quarterfinals. We know she's talented. Of course, she won a title last year, and she beat some good players to get her, likes of like Martins and Garcia. I think was the biggest win of her run. But also,
and she wasn't so far from getting the win against Sabalenka. I mean,
set in a break, so pretty.
Yeah, it was a very early break in the second set, but still, I mean, given the fact that Sabalenka then went on to win the whole thing, it's really been very, very big. Also, I knew her because she won an event, the WTA title in Parma in Italy, where I was there almost the whole week. So I really knew something about her, and also I like to watch these players representing countries that not have really a tennis history, and making like the trailblazers from their country, from their part of the world. It's also really nice. So it's one of the players I tend to sympathize with, because also of all the background she's taking with her playing tennis, and she was deserving this run somewhere, because even if not always at big stages, but a lot of WTA 125 and some big ATF events, she really did really well in these past years. In fact, I mean, her ranking is stably into the top 60, 70, and so that's also been a really nice story. And even if I wanted to tell you about what happened today in the doubles final, that was a bit of a sad page in the event, with the players not being able to give the speech. And I saw that rightfully a lot of people are also on Twitter complaining about that.
Yeah, I was actually one of those people as well, because I just didn't understand, why would you not give them a ceremony?
I struggled.
Might be the backlash that maybe Victoria Azarenka would bring up, some of the inequalities in the tournament. And honestly, I think it's fair, because the Madrid Open hasn't been very good about equality in general. Like the head of the tournament, the owner of this tournament is Ian Tiriac, and he's not exactly known for showing equality between men and women in the past, and he's made some pretty bad comments and some statements that were very controversial, as well as the fact that this tournament has ball girls that are models. I don't think that's a great look in today's climate, particularly, and then also the scheduling of the matches and the events, a lot of late matches for the women, and just in general, for the men and the women, I just didn't really understand why scheduling those matches at past 9 p.m. local time is a great idea. There's two of them. I understand if there's one, then it kind of makes sense. But I know that in Spain there's a pretty lively crowd late into the night, and they eat dinner very late. They like doing everything pretty late in Spain. But I just don't think it's great for the players, because if they finish a match at 1 a.m., 2 a.m., they're not going to bed until 4 or 5. And even if you have the rest of the day off, it's still not really fair in terms of the time being equal, and then also just recovery the next day. I don't think the players really like it. I mean, Swiatek brought it up in the post-match ceremony as well. There was a bit of shade at Lopez, and Sabalenka also mentioning the size of the cake thing became way too overblown, and that was a big topic on Twitter. But I think it was more just symbolic of the inequality that they thought between the WTA and ATP in terms of just.
No, that's absolutely right. I mean, all over the world, and even in Rome this next week, the same night session starts one hour before than in Madrid, and of course this hour can make a lot of difference, because thing is to end the latest match at midnight, and another thing is to do it at 1:15 a.m. And of course it makes a lot of difference, that's for sure. Fortunately, this year the problem was a little bit fixed because of the rest day that in most of cases the players could have had the next day. So fortunately, this issue hasn't been so big as in the past years. When I remember, for example, the Zverev case last year, it was really shameful because playing the second men's semifinal after the women's final, and then the second semifinal.
That was a disaster.
Yeah, ended at 2 a.m. And I mean,
sandwiched between the two semifinals, I'll never fully understand.
Yeah, and that's for sure that he played a role, because Zverev also, the way he was playing last year. I mean, you can lose anyway, but of course you think about that. So that's for sure. And yeah, also I was thinking about the speech, the fact that fortunately this final involved players that did pretty well in singles too, so they had the chance to have their moments somewhere else. But I'm also thinking that if today there was a final between, for example, some double specialists, like a lot of times happen, which haven't the opportunity to have this moment other times in other events, it's really shameful, because it's the final of one of the biggest events of the year, and you want to have that moment, even if of course it's a moment in which it's not like you say a lot of things, but it's still a nice moment to have if you was there playing the final, being the protagonist, and you want to have this moment.
I think you deserve that moment. You deserve that limelight in terms of
exactly.
Show your appreciation to the fans, your team, your opponent. I think that's a big part of tennis, which people like and they honor, because it's like celebrating the tournament, celebrating your success, celebrating your team's success, celebrating your opponent's success. So it's
exactly.
It's become very generic to kind of say the same things, like.
I'm sure, but
it's still something that they deserve, just because everyone else has gotten that chance of the draw. And I mean, that's certainly something for the tournament to answer and look forward in the future, especially for next year, and maybe take some of that criticism as a way to improve. But
I'm sure.
It's such a good event overall in terms of the the money put into it. The stadium, it has a roof. I think the night matches are amazing in terms of the energy, the crowd. Some stadiums are just built better for the night. I think Madrid is one of those. You don't see the crowd or anything suffering as a result of these matches going really deep or something like that. But it just, there were some things that they did this tournament that I think rightfully made some people mad.
You're right. And also it's now the WTA that should I think that should say something about what happened today, because of the players also. 2 of the 4 players involved in that final are members of the Players' Council of the WTA. So I think that I don't think, knowing Azarenka, for example, I'm sure that she's going to say something, because she's not the kind of player who stays silent about these kind of things. Also because I know when something like this happen, you open a bigger issue than the speech in itself, and that's why it could have simply avoided by giving the microphone to the players and let them talk, because also it's a wasted opportunity to have some kind of content and a lot of things. For example, I was watching a lot of content produced by Kachanov and Rublev, who won the doubles title, and they really have been funny with the camera and with and talking to, for example, to Tennis TV in itself, and you kind of lost this opportunity to promote in some way the sport and the doubles also, because when you have a final with Azarenka, Pegula, Gauff, Haddad Maia, you really have a chance to promote the doubles event and doubles tennis in general, and you haven't used this opportunity as you could have done. So it's a pity that this happened, honestly, and I don't think that 10 minutes for the player would have made an issue in today's schedule. So I really don't understand why, and maybe it's strange.
Yeah.
I really don't know.
Yeah, certainly everyone was talking about it. But looking at the men's side, obviously Alcaraz, the deserving champion again. Some players missing in this tournament, Sinner, Berrettini, Djokovic, Nadal, certainly opened up some doors for some new-time semifinalists, quarterfinals that we may not have seen in previous years because of 32 seeds, 96-player draw, expanded Masters event. So I think this did give some opportunities to players who may not have been given that chance of the limelight. I mean, for instance, Struff coming out of qualifying as about the loser getting to the final never happened before in Masters 1000 history. He played an amazing event, knocking off Tsitsipas and Shelton and Sonego and a bunch of other really, really top players in terms of like good wins on the tour, like Lajovic and who else did he beat? I mean, in the semis, getting his revenge over Karatsev. In 3 sets, and then putting up a very decent fight in the final also. Never really went away, won the second set, commentated for that match, and it was one of the better big finals that we've had this year. Certainly expected Struff to maybe, feel it a bit more physically, go away in straight sets, especially after losing the first set, and, where he had a lot of chances and some double faults in the games that he got broken. But overall, I thought it was a pretty high quality final given the circumstances, and Alcaraz wins the whole thing despite having some wobbles and not always being at his best level, particularly against Russell-Borrian in the final today. But I think it just further illustrates the fact that Alcaraz right now is the guy to beat going into the French Open, and we still have to see, obviously with Djokovic coming back in Rome, it certainly will make things pretty exciting if we get a Alcaraz versus Djokovic final, which is what I think we all want. But yeah,
I mean,
the event on the
of course, starting from the latest part of your speech, of course, we have to really to see what Djokovic is going to do in Rome, because Rome is one of his favorite events, and no doubt his clay court favorite event, because he never lost there before the quarterfinals. He won the event 6 times. So I'm very, very interested to watch how he's going to look there, even if I'm pretty optimistic, because I don't know, he really played good tennis in Rome, even in his worst years, like in 2017. And so yeah, it's really been interesting to finally see Djokovic and Alcaraz playing into the same event, which hasn't been the case in a while. And yeah, talking about Madrid, the final is really been an entertaining final. Because Struff proved that he's really in form, and he has also the kind of tennis to create issues to literally everyone. I was also thinking about, I mean, it's really not the same. But I was also thinking about all the issues he created to Alcaraz also in Wimbledon last year, and after struggling a lot in the end of the last season, it's really, really good to see him back at this level. And also for all the, I'd say, less hardcore tennis fans who probably are like, okay, Alcaraz Struff, I don't know if I'm going to watch. And yeah, you miss something, because Struff actually played really, really well. And the final has really been close, because we don't have to forget that even in the third set, Struff has been the first one to have a break point. And it's really been a matter of really few points, like a very big final. Thinking about the others, I think that this is probably the closest one after the Monte Carlo. Monte Carlo probably was closer than this one in terms of the ranking of the players, and then the score, how it looked like. But it's really been a close one, and some really good points. Struff also using the court really well, doing some really entertaining serve and volley sometimes, and also Alcaraz's abilities to defend the court. And these two players, I think that I'd say that match really, really well each other, and it's really been fun. And in the end, Alcaraz proved why he's there. He's going to be number one again after Rome. And I don't have a lot of words about him, because what you have to say, he's really he's funny to watch. He plays an amazing tennis, which is even more amazing in the key moments of the match, which is what you need to do to be considered the top player and to win the big events. He already has 4 Masters events, 10 titles, and
it's more just the eye test. Like, what you see with your eyes just matches what his achievements are on the court, just in terms of the completeness. And he already has that aura where you feel like you have to press, you have to hit lines, you have to win the points 4 or 5 times against him, because he moves so well, he covers the court so well. He's got just such a great idea about when to play what shot. The absurdity that he has to pull off, like shots that are so bold. You think of the Russell Williams match, 2-6, 2-3, 15-40 down, saved 5 break points in that game. Just incredible shot making. If one of those points go differently, we could be talking about a random first-time Masters 1000 winner, most likely. Because, he had to come up with like a ridiculous half-volley pickup save, and then like a backhand winner down the line, another like forehand inside-out winner. He just goes for all the shots in the big moments, and it seems to pay off, because he knows and when he goes for those drop shots as well. You as the opponent, you have to respect his power.
And
heavy ground strokes, but there's just no way to mentally prepare yourself for those drop shots, because they just come at the right moment. And even if he doesn't outright win the point with winner, it usually sets up another combination for him, the other lob or the passing shot, and he just seems to always be one step ahead. And it's one thing to like have the vision, but he's able to execute it in the biggest moments, and it's breathtaking to watch it, because you feel like you're watching something special, and every match feels like must-see TV, regardless of who the opponent is, which definitely brings that something special and generational to the table. And that's
it's the feeling is it's basically the same as when you was watching playing or you are watching, since they are already playing, players like Djokovic and Nadal, and when it was Federer and even Andy Murray at times. It's that kind of feeling. Also, like when you're not able to convert these break points, and then you can feel that, okay, now he's getting broken the next game, and yeah, he gets broken in the next game because he really has that ability to find in the issues of the match, in the difficulties, he find there the what he needs to find to turn the tables around and to start playing better and better and better, and to suddenly feel his shots, and to grow his confidence even when you don't expect this to happen. And yeah, it's a totally different feelings than when you see a lot of other really good players which win a lot of matches because they play really good, but they have not the same qualities to turn a match around and to make you feel unsafe in every part of the match. Even if you up in the score 6-2, 4-2, you are not safe. Never. You have this kind of feeling, and this of course what makes him super special, regardless of all the great things he does from the technical point of view, which are of course super amazing. He really has I need time if you want me to say to talk about some weakness. I really need to watch other matches and to because right now it's a bit difficult to underline a clear
certainly not anything that's repeatedly attackable by the best players, because like sure, his first serve can get a little bit better in terms of his placement. Then
this one, I think that he can improve this one.
But that's only going to get better over time. Like if
that's for sure.
This one, then that's certainly something. I mean, he's already gotten better at it. Like we saw the U.S. Open, the fourth set against Ruud, the serve really came to fruition. He had like 7 aces, and he always has the miles per hour. It's just a matter of better placement and like maybe like still sometimes he'll play a sloppy game or something, get broken, then he'll have to re-break and get the game back. And he's such a good returner that he usually makes it happen. Or if he's playing someone like Sinner, or I mean, we saw it a little bit with Rusapori, but I'll use Sinner just because they've played 6 times, and when he's able to take the ball really early and the compact stroke production and just rush Carlos and hit it super hard and deep and right at Alcaraz's feet, that can be a recipe, but it's very difficult to do that for that long of a period. And you need to have it off of both wings. You need to be taking a lot of chances and risks, and it's that certainly can be one factor. Like try to rush the forehand, get him on the back foot, and just really just plain power, like just 85 mile per hour power off both wings. Rushing him, but that's very tough to execute. So I would say he's in pretty good shape, especially on slower hard courts or clay courts where he has a lot more time to, just set up and do what he wants, because he likes to be in control. But maybe on a faster court, you could do that, but it's not going to win you the match a lot of the times, because it.
Of course. I totally agree, and I'm really sure that he's going to be able, even on grass, to be able to do a lot of good things, even because we don't really think that he's going to need a lot of time. We saw it last year, for example, with also with Sinner, for example, which came into grass having won no matches at all, and then suddenly he was in the Wimbledon quarterfinals. And I'm sure that even Alcaraz is going to make some big results, probably even this year on grass, because I really see no reason, because he seems also to really be able to adapt really well and to change the movement and to change little things on his tennis to adapt to the conditions of the court. And yeah, I'm at this point I'm just going to say that I'm really looking forward to see him in Paris. Last year probably was there as, top 3 favorite, and then I won't say that he played bad, because Zverev really played an unbelievable match, of course, but of course this year the chance is even higher because of the state of the rivals, and also because he has 1 year more, and
he's just a little bit more mature, a little bit more polished than
that's for sure.
Last year he also struggled a lot against Rossovori, and maybe at this time he was still getting used to the new status. I think between Madrid and the US Open, we saw him the most vulnerable, and for most players that's like career best performances, but for Alcaraz's point of view, that was maybe the period where he was getting the most used to being talked about as like a favorite for every tournament he went to. So I think this time around he'll probably be better equipped to handle those expectations than last year. He's also more patient. I think last year he Zverev played an amazing match, but he also hit himself out of certain situations and didn't.
That's for sure.
I think this year he's already shown that he's a lot more willing to build points and be a lot more patient in his values, use his athleticism and his legs, and just not really go for broke or anything. It just feels safer than it did last year. But it will be interesting to see, best of 5 sets going through 2 weeks is still a very tough thing, and it will be interesting to see if he does play Sinner and Runa and we get those matchups, especially Djokovic, because at the moment he's looking like the favorite going into Roland-Garros, and it's going to be interesting to follow in Rome. Also, some of his other contenders, like for example Tsitsipas, I'll be interested to see how he does in Rome, because he made the final last year, and this week he came up against the top of the line Struff, who can cause him some problems, and it'll be really interesting to see what the quarterfinal lineup is like.
That's for sure, because Tsitsipas is going to be number 5 in the draw. So it's going to be interesting. I'd say that probably if we want to see a balanced draw, I'd probably say that he needs to stay probably in Medvedev's quarter or Ruud's quarter, avoiding maybe Djokovic and Alcaraz, because if I have to think about the top 3 favorites, I'm for sure still saying Alcaraz, Djokovic, and Tsitsipas because we really know how what they are able to produce on clay. Of course, Tsitsipas not really playing so well so far this year, but we know that he really had a lot of really good results on clay, and I think that if Alcaraz suddenly falls into a bad day and something happens, Tsitsipas should be there to try to use the chance, even because he was in the Australian Open final, but now he's starting to need another good result.
Definitely. Because Indian Wells in Miami, he had some issues with the shoulder, and then he did well to get to the Barcelona final, but he was really outplayed for the most of the match against Carlos, and now against Struff. I guess you could say the draw was kind of open for him to get to the final here, but then Struff played the best tennis of his life, and then we would have probably seen another rematch between Alcaraz and Tsitsipas, maybe, but Yeah, it would be interesting because I think Rome is a better benchmark in terms of Roland-Garros, in terms of conditions and like state of the court and at sea level and yeah, with the 2 weeks, so a lot of different things can happen. But
Yeah, no, and if I have to mention
focus.
other two players to keep an eye on about the draw, of course, I'm going to probably mention Rune and Sinner,
Yeah,
which uh, I think that they can be, I won't say dark horses because they now have a quite high seat, but uh, definitely it's going to be important to watch where they are going to place
yeah,
in the draw because yeah, for example, we saw in Monte Carlo how the number 5-8 seeds uh, went on in the event, and uh, yeah, yes, of course. I just hope for a balanced draw because sometimes
yeah,
we uh, we see a lot of uh, yeah, it's like I won't say a good side and a bad side because it's ingenuous, but sometimes like you have some packed.
true. Yeah, yeah. I know what you mean. I'm definitely looking forward to seeing like the best players back again in the quarters. I think this week it was really fun and exciting to see some new names, underdogs. Some players thrive in these more or less outlier conditions, but now in Rome, I'd love to see like a re-emergence of some of those rivalries again. So I would love to see, for example, Djokovic in there, Tsitsipas in there, Medvedev in there, Luna in there, Sinner in there, Alcaraz in there. Maybe Ruud again because I think he's also due for a good result, especially after Madrid and Monte Carlo not going so well, but he did win in Estoril. So he's, I think, definitely one to keep an eye on because he's got semifinal points to defend as well as final points at Roland-Garros. And if he gets his form going a little bit before Paris, then that'll make things maybe more exciting. So him in there, yeah, and I mean, yeah, Rublev as well, I should mention, but Rublev, he already had some great success this clay court season in Monte Carlo and winning the doubles here and then final of Banja Luka. But if, yeah, if we get those 8 players,
Yeah, no,
that would be pretty exciting. But they have to win 3 matches to get there, all of them.
yeah, no, totally agree. Even we have also to mention uh, the Madrid doubles titles. Of course, Rublev has having a really big clay season so far.
Yes.
He also mentioned a lot, even in the past, how much he likes to play on clay conditions, and I think that he's kind of. Power tennis can be helped at times by clay because um, uh, yeah, even if we sometimes we don't really make the connection um, between the power shots and this kind of tennis and the clay courts, but yeah, I don't know. Uh, I'm the one who really thinks that powerful tennis and rhythmic shots and can mm, can pay
Yeah.
in these conditions.
Because
Um,
power is very important. Like you need to have consistent baseline rhythm and just be able to like construct points with it. And I think Rublev does a pretty good job of that. That's why his floor is pretty high. I think he's actually quite good on all surfaces. Same with what I like about Sinner, Fritz, and Rublev. They're proving to be pretty good all surface players in terms of like their linear power and their way of winning points on the baseline. It seems like it works on everything more or less. Uh, Unless I'm missing something. Yeah, I think for the most part they're pretty reliable. They become pretty reliable week to week.
yeah, no, I agree. I'm also expecting um, a little less, I'd say, upsets in Rome.
Yeah, yeah,
Um, Thinking about how uh, how the tournament is, the conditions there. usually it's like place where the top players started to feel better and better. Also the Djokovic example, for example, which historically, I don't know this year, but historically Rome has always been his turning point of the clay season in the preparation for the Roland-Garros. And I think that for example, I'm expecting a good event from Sinner because he chose to not stress his physics too much, given the illness he had, and so he withdrew from Madrid and he trained, and so I'm expecting a big Rom, a good Rom run because, of course, even if I don't know how to rate the fact that we have this 2 week Madrid event with the physical state of the players. I also want to see how this is going to look because in the last season it was a huge factor. For example, we had Alcaraz who withdrew from Rome, and probably other player arrived in Rome not in perfect conditions. And probably this year is going to be a bit different, given the fact that at least the seeded players start the tournament practically during the weekend.
Yeah. If you're seeded, you don't start until Friday or Saturday. So that gives you a few extra days, and then you have a rest day in between the matches. And I think it's more of a mini slam. So I think and from that standpoint, for the top players, it should be good preparation, especially if they're going deep. If they lose early, then it becomes a little bit different because now they have maybe some more time. So then, it's like, do you go and play a challenger like Tommy Paul did this week, or do you go and just rest or just practice or train? So that gets a little difficult, I would think. But in terms of less players pulling out because of the strain from the week before, I think it might be better.
No, yeah, and in other news, we also saw Andy Murray winning the title this week in France.
It's his biggest title since winning Antwerp in 2019.
Yeah. It was that event was 175, so it's almost a 250 event, and he also faced some good players because he had to play against Van Asch and of course Tommy Paul in the final. And also given also how much he was struggling in the first clay events, of course there are some positive signs for him. And also, I mean, I'm always happy to see this, I'd say, legend of the game doing well, and also showing all this passion and lowering the expectations.
It means so much to him to win a match at challenger level, even though this guy's won Wimbledon and won the gold, been number one. He's basically done everything. And it still means so much to him. He's celebrating like crazy. He's very emotional, and this guy has a big heart, and he's giving the sport a lot. So from that standpoint, it's really good to see him. He's going to be 36 soon. And I think for him, it's all about Wimbledon. Get himself seeded for Wimbledon. Try to make another deep run there. Get some matches in. I think he's sort of using the clay season as a springboard in terms of matches and reps, and get himself fully healthy for the grass. Because I think last year, even though he was playing well in Stuttgart, he injured himself against Berrettini, and then he pulled out the points, and wasn't the ideal preparation for Wimbledon. With a lot of the young players not having the kind of experience that he has on grass, I think he can make a good run, let's say, to the second week or quarters, something like that. It's certainly possible if he has the right, if he's healthy and he has the right amount of matches.
Yeah, no, I think that it's also one of his goals to be in the second week of that Grand Slam. I still don't think that he has a lot of expectation for the Roland-Garros, but I think that, of course, given also how much that tournament means to him. To be back in the Wimbledon second week can really be good for him. And there's also a chance that making some wins, he can, and some withdrawals too. Probably he can also be seeded at Roland-Garros, probably if he's able to reach the third round in Rome. It's difficult, but let's see, because now he's 42, and let's see, because that is going to be important. Of course, I think that his target is to be seeded in Wimbledon, and because it's going to be really, really important for the draw. And I think that in Wimbledon is really possible if he is able to have, for example, a good run in Stuttgart like last year, or probably the Queen's Club. He can. I think that his goal is trying to be seeded also in that Wimbledon draw, to try to avoid, for example, to play Berrettini in the round one, like it happened in Melbourne, and then it's all another tournament for you when you come through a 5 hours long first round.
And also it'll be good for the fans in Roland-Garros to see him one more time, because with his age and injuries, you just never know if he'll be back next year.
Also because the fans in Paris have like a bad memory of him since his 2020 campaign. I remember him really, really struggling against Wawrinka. So probably even trying to give a better, I don't know, farewell to the event can also be a good thing.
Yeah, definitely. But a lot of interesting storylines and things to look forward to with Rome. I think the draws will be out soon. It's full with the qualifying getting underway. And Mario, it was great to speak with you today and cover Madrid. It's always good to hear your thoughts, since you're so immersed in it, just like I am. And best of luck in Italy. I'm sure you'll do a great job covering the event there. And it was nice having you on the podcast. And this will be a good episode that our listeners will enjoy.
No, thank you really much. I really wanted to be here, so I'm really happy to have spoken to you, since it's always a pleasure for me. I'm sure we will do it again.
Yeah, we'll definitely do it again. And check us out on Talking Tennis. You can follow Mario at what's your Twitter handle again, Mario? Just so our listeners can follow you.
They really can find me just for my name and surname. Okay. They found me there if they search me in that way, because I have my full name on my Twitter.
Great, and then follow us at Tennis Bagels, and you can follow me at Budfree2K and follow Talking Tennis as well. We're both contributors, and so stay tuned for the next episode of Tennis and Bagels, and we'll be back for more. Thanks, everyone. Bye.